Quantum Conversations, your portal to the inner realms. Access infinite possibilities, infinite mastery, and infinite love. Mind-expanding, heart-opening conversations with some of the greatest spiritual teachers, luminaries, and healers of today's world. Usher in new earth by living in your sacred heart. Quantum Conversations is brought to you by acoustichealth.com, home of music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And today, in this quantum conversation to inspire and to empower, we are talking about a beautiful modality that actually confirms what Tesla was talking about when he says if we want to understand the universe, we know that everything is energy and a frequency. Well, today we are going to learn how that energy and that frequency is affected by what is known as healing glyphs. My guest today is Dr. Jean Logan, who is a real one of the pioneers in this beautiful field. And with experience, she is getting more and more information and testimonials coming in with miraculous results. Let's welcome Dr. Jean Logan back to Quantum Conversations. Hello, Jean.
Hello, Lauren. I am so delighted to be here back with you again.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. I love this conversation. And what I love about this, Jean, is that since we first introduced you to this community, oh my gosh, it seems like almost a decade ago. Yes, 10 years ago, a decade. Isn't that fascinating?
With one book.
With one book. Well, now there have been beautiful results coming in. Even in my own life, we've got some results from people, miraculous stories that you're going to share with us. But this is really a new way of healing, one that empowers us, and it is so simple because it interfaces with our energy field and also the higher realms. So before we get into how people can work with these, and I know there's going to be some who want to ask you questions, so Dr. Jean is taking questions on today's call. First, we're going to talk about really what it is that's going on here. These are glyphs, and when we first look at them, they're simply a drawing. In a way, it could be almost a light language type experience, but it's a drawing that is energized and it really helps people.
Yes, it is a light language. That's what I'm given. I'm given the picture and the directive to use. And when I empower the glyphs, I have a sacred spot on my land where I've constructed a chapel. And when I empower them, and I invite in all the sacred beings to assist me, the energy from the empowerment ceremony goes up to the central sun, and the central sun sends down electrical impulses that impregnate the glyph, and those electrical impulses stay with it as long as the glyph is intact.
Oh, isn't that amazing? And
it amazes me.
It is, and so, I mean, I'll share a story here in a moment. It's just actually quite amazing. There's also the angelic realm is administering this as well, right?
Right, absolutely. when I have the ceremony, I invite all the beings of light to assist me. And when I am given the picture and the what's called the empowerment statement, and then I ask them, when I read the empowerment statement, for them to please put their energy behind the glyph as well.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And we know from sound healing, for example, that intention is actually carried on the music. So the intention for one's healing is actually carried in the energy and amplified by the glyph. Can you talk a little bit more about how one is open to receive and belief in this situation when working with
Yes.
you? Mm-hmm.
People ask me, do I have to believe in it for it to work? Well, it works fabulously on animals, and they don't believe in anything. But on the other hand, they don't doubt, they have no skepticism, they have
Right.
no ego, they're not wondering how long is it going to take. And so I encourage people, when they use the glyphs, I say, think like a dog. The dog doesn't think. It doesn't think, it just is. And to let it go, and not judgment and expectations are energies. Everything puts out a frequency, and that frequency can make it more difficult to get the effective results. So I tell people, just relax and let go, which is what you should do for any energy healing.
Yes, and that is what the healing is. It really is a surrender, or a relaxing and letting go, and being open to these possibilities. I absolutely love what you said there about the judgment as a frequency is literally blocking this from happening. All right, so that's a beautiful place to begin. So when we look at these glyphs, it's really interesting because they're not, I mean, you hand draw them, and for the novice or someone looking from the outside in, it might just look like a little cartoon, but they are extremely powerful. And I want to share a personal experience. When I used this, I thought I was allergic to my house because I would wake up and have a little wheeze in the middle of the night. And I used a glyph, and after the first night of sleeping with that glyph, there were clear lungs. It was totally amazing. And it was very simple to do. So that is just a real minor story of mine. But Jean, you were just telling me about someone who actually got a sonogram, and he avoided surgery.
Right. It was, I think he's 78 years old, and he had a collapsed lung. Now, this man was very ill. He has leukemia. And when he got the collapsed lung, the doctor said they would have to do surgery to inflate it again, which was very risky. And I even kind of told him to make sure he has his affairs in order. And so his daughter took the lung glyph, and she put it on a surrogate. I use a teddy bear as a surrogate. You can even use a piece of paper, but she put the glyph on the teddy bear, and 38 hours later, when she went to the hospital, they did another ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that his lung was inflated again. And so she, bless her heart, she got pictures of both, copies of both from the doctor, of both before and the after of the ultrasound. That showed his lung was inflated again.
And that is so beautiful. So again, let's clarify what a glyph is. I'm going to share that because I see some questions coming in on that. Basically, Jean, and you can help me out here, as you said, you are guided. It almost is like a light language that you are writing. And so it's a little symbol that you were given for specific things, for ailments on the body. And these are really, we've said this before, it's like a first aid kit of little art symbols. Expand on this.
Right, they're very simple, and the actual glyph that you use, the book has, like the first book, has 30 glyphs in it, and each one has a header page with a larger picture of the glyph, and then a few sentences telling what it is and how to use it. And then it has a patch page of 16 of smaller glyphs, and these are about 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And you would put them on your solar plexus, or you could put 8 of them under your feet at night. You could put some behind. I use them, wrap them in a piece of cotton and put it behind my brow. And sometimes I take a whole sheet and lay it by my bedside. And when I first wake up, when I'm most sensitive, I will put my hands over the sheet of paper. And they're just simple little drawings. Sometimes they're like stick figures or smiley faces type things. But they are so powerful.
Yes. And we are going to go deeper in how people work with these and answer some questions for people. I want to explain as well that it's really wonderful because the digital book, and you have this in your special offer. It's beautiful because in your special offer, people get those books and they can download those 3. And then you also have an option where people can have a consultation with you, and you can even better customize a session with them and how they can work with these glyphs. And so, as you said, that you could take some of them and stack them up. That's all good. Really, you print out a piece of paper, and what I like to do is have a folder of the main ones that I use, and these cover everything from circulation to brain, right, and digestion, the whole gamut. And those pages that we print out of the individual glyphs, then you could cut those up and use those like you said. And it really is almost as if when we work with crystals, we follow the intuition. Well, this is a way we can work with these glyphs. We follow the intuition. And for a while, I had a steady number of 5 that I put in my pillow and I would sleep with. So a lot of ways to use this. And we've also had people that actually print the glyphs from the book onto T-shirts or onto pillowcases and things like that. So it's quite amazing.
Yes, you can get the type of where you iron them on. Yes. Now, what I encourage people to do, these are e-books. These are 3 e-books, and I encourage people when they get these books to print out the table of contents. These books, the first book has 30 glyphs in it, and the second 2 books have 34. Print out the table of contents. Put it in a nice binder where Lauren was saying go ahead and put the printed glyphs in there. And then take some time to look at them because there's 98 in all. And they cover so many things that you want to know. It's like having a first aid kit. You want to know what's in there. You want to see when you get this big first aid kit, you want to know what's there so that you have it when you need it. And it will help you work with your intuition when you know what's there.
Also, I want to mention that you and I've been so privileged to host you for a couple of online healing retreats where you do go over each of those glyphs in the book. Each book, actually, and those are part of that special offer, too. So that's pretty helpful for how people work with these. Okay, I love it, too, because animals, again, it works for animals. My dog was hit by a car. I'm sure you've got other amazing stories. What's your favorite story of how animals have been helped by this?
Oh, I've got some recent ones that are just that... One woman contacted me, and she had a bulldog pit bull mix. It was 2 years old and was having seizures. And so she took him to the vet, of course, and they ran all kinds of tests, and you can spend a fortune at a vet with tests and so forth. And nothing worked except they'd give her a prescription, and she'd look up how the ingredients could do it harm, and she thought, this is not the answer. And so she contacted me. And so I told her what glyphs to use, one to heal the damaged brain, one for neurological healing, and one, and this is so important, to remove the vaccinations. Vaccinations can do a certain amount of damage. But she started, and she used a surrogate, and the dog never had another seizure, and it was also having tremors. She would wake up at night trying to soothe him when he was having such tremors, and she said the tremors stopped and the seizure stopped. This is such a valuable thing because seizures are so common now with children, with vaccinations and whatever different things. My goodness, what's all in our food and everything. But the one I just received just a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, a woman has a cat named Merlin, and she sent me a picture. I get pictures of all these animals. It's really precious, and they're on my Facebook pages. And Merlin looks just like you might think a cat, a very black cat with kind of devilish eyes, and he had a heart attack. I didn't know, and they had, I never heard of a dog having a cat, but I guess they do. And it was paralyzed for 9 months. Now, how she handled taking care of that cat, I could not have done it. She said the vets would tell you to have the cat put to sleep, but she just wouldn't do it. So then she got a set of the 3 books, and she contacted me and set up a consultation. And she said now the cat is perfectly fine after 9 months of being paralyzed.
That's amazing. So can you share how she worked with those glyphs? Like, did she do it on a surrogate?
She wanted to talk. We're going to talk again on Skype. She's in Switzerland.
Wow.
And so what she wrote me was kind of broken a little bit. And I would like to know exactly, of course, I told her what glyphs to use, but that was a year and a half ago. And she wrote me, and she didn't tell me until just recently when she got one of my newsletters, and then she shared that with me, and I was so glad she did. I really would appreciate a success story like that is almost unbelievable. It's just because people often say, what can I do? My mother had a stroke. Yes, there's an answer.
Yeah.
There definitely is. There's one to heal the brain and one to heal many to heal the nerves.
Yes, and I love that about your books because, again, you go through the whole gamut of various conditions, and this goes even down to detoxing on a cellular level. There's a question coming in, and we know that EMF fields and 5G now. How can these work for 5G? Do you have one yet?
Yes, there's one. There is one in the second book. For electromagnetic fields, and what I put one out, I've got one out on my porch, the larger one, for my smart meter. Although I'm fortunate enough my smart meter's across the road, the driveway from me, but nevertheless I have that out toward that. And I have one of the small ones on every appliance. I have them on my lamps. So yes, there is. And the 5G, we can protect ourselves, but I also want to add, I was instructed this years ago. I was told every morning to say this: surround myself with a field of light that is impenetrable by any energy or forces that are not in harmony with my body, and believe in your power that field is there. That's very important.
The operative word, believe in that power. Believe in that power.
Right. We all need to work toward believing in our power. Just like when using the surrogate, believe in your power that the energy that you tell to go to that person will do that. As I explained many times, it's like when you're praying, let's say Uncle Joe over in New York, he's having surgery, and so you say a prayer. If you believe the energy of that prayer will get there, it will, full force. If you think, well, I'm not sure if it's going to help, but I'll do it anyway, right there, you cut that energy in half. So you have to believe it's not will it work, it will work. But I want to add one thing real quick, is the first book is mostly emotional healing glyphs. And those are so important, and I encourage people to use those first because the basis of all physical issues is emotional issues. And we need to clear those issues to have a healing of physical issues that is really complete. We oftentimes will try to heal the physical thing, and we're really just healing the symptoms temporarily. And so often you think you have a healing and then it comes back. And the reason is because we don't heal the emotional issue. If you think of like cancer, how many times have you known someone who they thought or were told the cancer was gone, and then within months or a couple of years, it comes back with a vengeance because they have not cleared the emotional issue. So that's important to know, that emotional issue healing. You can save a fortune on counseling bills with all these emotional glyphs that are in there. And there's about 10 different glyphs that will heal different aspects of the emotions.
Yes, very important there. And you yourself, you healed a divorce with your husband, and the emotions from that, you released it from your physical form, and you guys have a very good relationship. So, this is something even in your own life that you used. And it's when we don't have to get the counseling for that, it purifies us, and then we are more open to be in contact with our higher self and this inner wisdom and our inner guidance.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they're always there. These things are in layers. You will have emotions that can be released, and then all of a sudden, like just today, I was feeling, it's taken me a long time to let go of feeling bad about losing my last dog. And I was feeling a little down, and I took some glyphs for sadness, and I put them on, and I felt so much better. I thought, oh gosh, here I feel so sad, and I'm getting ready to be on this show. I've got to feel better than this. So I just put a few glyphs on, and I felt a whole lot better.
Okay, so go over some of the emotions. There's anger and depression, right, and fear and resentment.
I started with the first one I did was fear, because that was my big one. I mean, fear controlled my life. Yeah. And so when I first used that glyph, I created it and empowered it, and I put it on my solar plexus, and I could feel stuff being drawn out of me, out of my arms and my breasts. And I got such a cute letter from a lady who said she put that glyph on her grandson, and he says, "Grandma, I can feel stuff coming out of me." But then there's one for anger and for sadness, for fear of abandonment, for shame. I mean, how many of us were shamed as children? And that even is good these are all good for dogs too. Rather than shame your children, or you just need to teach them a better way. And the same with dogs. We don't need to even shame the dog. We just need to teach them a better way. And I'm trying to think of what other ones there are. There's one for joy and self-confidence. Yeah. And there's one for trust, which is really, again, there's 3 different ones for fear, because there's so many kinds of fear and different layers of fear. And there's one, you can't trust if you have fear. And so there's one that is for trust, where it removes other layers of fear. There are so many things. Just like if you have a fear of public speaking, it's more than just public speaking. It's fear of losing control. It's fear of ridicule. It's about 4 or 5 different fears involved there. And that helps a lot. Even now today, just last Sunday, I spoke at a church, and I used the glyph for fear and for anxiety, because I still get a little anxious when I have to get up in front of a bunch of people.
And it helps. Okay. Well, that's
helps.
wonderful.
Oh, yes.
All right. So the first book is all on the emotional healing. And then the other books, they go more into the physical, and then some of these more, I guess I want to say specific issues. Right.
There's one for the heart. I've had such successful reports on the heart, and you can heal a damaged heart. Understand that. Now, people say, well, how long does it take? But it varies on who it is, and there's no way I can answer that. If it's a baby, and you can heal a baby who has a bad heart, it can be done, unless that is part of the child's path. You cannot interfere with the path. If they've come in to experience something like that, then there's nothing you can do. And when you use a surrogate, I always state, if you don't douse and ask a question of their soul, you just make a statement. If it's in agreement with their soul, before you start using the glyph. And the one for the heart has been so successful. There was one woman who, her father was 89, and they wanted to put a pacemaker in him, which is I can't believe they would operate on an 89-year-old man. But anyway, she put the heart and the lung glyph on his heart for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, he had an examination, and they said he didn't need the pacemaker.
Oh,
so it's saved from a terrible operation.
I love those stories. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And so this is what you mean by people being able to do this in the privacy of their own home with their own intuition.
Right.
That does save a lot of money, a lot of visits, and a lot of anxiety as well.
And a lot of suffering to avoid operations, and that's happened several times. And there was one, it was a father or grandfather that had Alzheimer's, and they put a glyph on him. This was one of the third, to heal the damaged brain. And if the people who get this book, I encourage everybody to use that glyph, because I used it myself, and I wouldn't think I had a damaged brain, but I could feel something going on. But anyway, they put it on him, and they said he was so much improved, and he loved the glyphs. Before he went to bed at night, he would ask them to put the glyphs on him.
Isn't that wonderful? Wow.
It is.
Okay.
It is. There is help. There is hope for dementia and Alzheimer's. And I don't say that you're going to take an elderly person and, that's not going to resolve all their problems, because they by that time. But any help is great. Any help is wonderful.
Any help is wonderful. And, really to answer what glyphs are, once again, it's almost like we could say this is the light of God, or this is scalar energy, and it's really empowered by the intention. And the results that are coming in are magnificent. And, just the testimonials alone that come in, that really is remarkable. And again, we can't really say anything because the FDA, this is just a little art icon that's empowered. But in a way, when we hear from channeled messages on the new earth and the new modalities coming out, this is one of those modalities. Absolutely. This is a new earth modality.
Absolutely. And there's someday, the way we do it now with drugs and surgery will be barbaric when we look back.
Yes, we're going to look back and just question a lot of it. All right. Well, this is a great way for people to begin to work with these. And so let's go now to some questions, because this is where you really like to help out. All right. We've got, I want to comment, Prem comments, Dr. Jean, I've been using your magical glyphs that work wonders, easy to use and get results. My question is, regarding our two dogs, 1-year-old Foxy and Ninja, they have backward sneezing. It frightens them and us. I've not figured out the best glyph for that.
Backward sneezing.
I don't know what backward sneezing is.
Well, they're holding it in, probably. But there is a glyph for allergies there.
Yes,
and the allergy glyph, if they have a lot of sneezing, I'm not sure if this is an allergy, but the backward glyph, I'm not sure, is that a choice of the dog, or is this due to they both have the same kind of dog and have that same thing. I don't know that I have an answer except the one for allergy. And I would go ahead and put the lung glyph on him, and I'm thinking of something for his throat, but what would that be? There's one for the muscles in the throat. I think you'd have to experiment with that, because I have not heard with the fat problem. And there is, in the book, there are dowsing charts on each one. And what you can do, if you don't know how to douse, it gives you simple instructions, and that can be helpful. And then when you look at the table of contents, see if something jumps out at you. But the dowsing could be very helpful, because sometimes it will bring something out that we don't think of. And I think in that case, and if you Even get what I recommend. Everybody needs to learn to dowse. It's really getting in touch with your innate. You're getting or getting in touch with the nature spirit of the dog or the spirit of the dog. And I would suggest trying that and seeing what comes through.
So the dowsing, let's talk a little bit about that for those who are not familiar with it. That really is like a pendulum, or they could use their body too. But how do you hold the pendulum and then just really get out of your own way to allow that pendulum to move?
Right. You have to get out of your way. You have to you can't think of how you want the results to be. You have to let go of not influencing, because you could influence a pendulum with your mind. And that's not what you want. You don't want your mind getting in the way. Sometimes I even close my eyes because I don't want to influence that pendulum.
Okay, good. And so by using the chart that's in the book, it'll go into a direction that gives more advice on which ones to use and work with.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
And there is instructions in there, but I encourage people to even get a booklet of some kind on pendulum dowsing, because it can be so helpful in so many ways, other ways of picking out your supplements and things like that it's really helpful for.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, and so then let's talk more about using the glyphs. So how would you put a glyph on a dog? I would think that you would laminate the glyph and maybe put it around the collar.
Now, I had a dog that we got from the Humane Society, and we would try to take her for a ride in the car, and she would start throwing up every single time. And I tried many different ideas. And finally, I asked what was the problem with this dog, because I do channel, and so I asked for help on that. And I was told that the dog had brain damage from starvation and dehydration as a puppy, and that I could repair the part of the damaged brain by creating a glyph for it. So I wrote a glyph just for the for the cerebellum, and we put it on right on the top of her head. In the book, there are pictures of where the chakras are, both for humans and for animals. And so I put it up on the top of the head where the crown chakra is for the dog. And when we put it there, she kind of rolls her eyes back and forth. She could feel that doing something. And so we put it on every night on the dog for 2 weeks, and she was better. And then we did it another 2 weeks, and that she never got car sick again. But when my other dog, he got dementia, and he started defecating in the house, because he didn't know where he was. He literally didn't know where he was. And so I put a glyph on a surrogate for him. Again, I used a teddy bear, and I put one on the top of the head for healing the damaged brain, one for neurological healing, and also one for detoxification. And that's another glyph everybody should use. Put the glyph for detoxification on your crown chakra, because that will draw out any heavy metals that are in the brain. And I look at the glyphs can be used for prevention as well as healing. And that's a good idea for that glyph.
Yes, and so would you wear it in a hat, or like during the day, or how do you put it on your head?
I put it on at night. I put it on with a bobby pin, or even when I use it on dogs or even on the teddy bears, I use just plain Scotch tape, because it doesn't stick very well. And you don't want to be putting something on the dog or the teddy bear that will pull all the fuzz off, the hair off or anything, or cause them any pain. And the same with yourself. If you put a piece of Scotch tape on your hair, it will not stick that well. I mean, it will stick just enough to keep it on during the night, and that's it. Now, on the body, I get a 2-inch wide cloth tape, and that works very well. It's easy to put on and easy to take off without leaving any residue, and I never have an irritation. Some tapes can leave an irritation, but the cloth tape, I get that at Walmart, Durapur it's called, and it's not very expensive at all. And that works well for that. Or like I said, I also even wrap some around in a piece of cotton cloth behind my bra. Wherever you want to, you have to be creative.
Yes, get creative. We cannot do this wrong. So you could literally just cut those little glyphs out and stick them facing the skin or not facing the skin, or does it matter?
It it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
People, but I do have questions and answers available, so it doesn't matter.
Good.
Although
Just,
I
again,
use it facing the skin.
yes, I do as well. Okay. And again, you can even stick these in your pillowcase, any which way you want, and put them under you when you sleep. All right, let's get to some questions coming in. So Persia on our YouTube channel says how to fully stay with the beliefs when there's doubts at the same time, but I know it's just fear and doubt and not from the heart. So Persia, gosh, this would be more of those emotional healing glyphs, right, Jean?
Right. I start using the one for fear right away. That is such an important one. Fear can be so inhibiting. It really can be. So use that glyph for fear right away, and trust. And it's amazing that glyph can make a big difference within a short time.
Yes.
And keep using it. And the thing about the emotional healing glyphs, keep using them, because we have layers and layers and layers. And even from past lives, things may be surfacing. We don't really know. So whatever I feel, if I feel sad, I put on the glyph for sadness. If I feel fearful about something, I've always been very afraid of the dark. As a child, my mother would have to come and look under the bed every night and in the closet, and oh my goodness, I was so afraid something was going to get me. And so just as later on, when all of a sudden I found myself divorced and living alone up on a large portion of land, and that's amazing. I couldn't have done that without the glyphs.
Amazing. Really, these glyphs actually, because of that emotional healing and the release from that is lifting our vibration. So that's the power of these glyphs. It really does. They really are multidimensional in the frequencies that they bring us into or align us with, and that's the healing effect of it. I love it too because this works on trees. We have a question here. Can these work on healing wounds on a tree and insect weakness and things like that?
Right. I have a tree right on the west side. I'm sitting in my sunroom, and on the west side I have a big oak tree. And one day the man who does some work for me, he said, all the bark is falling off that tree. And I thought, oh my gosh, because that's serious. I mean, I knew that was fatal, that this tree was dying. And I went out there and I hugged the tree and told him I loved it, and I took pages of glyphs and wrapped them around the tree. And I put, there's a glyph for love too, and I wrapped all these different glyphs around the tree, pages of them. And then being a channel, I can channel a tree. And so I said to the tree, what can I do for you? And I was told, please leave my leaves under the tree where they fall.
Oh.
And I thought that was very helpful, because so often we want to clean all the grass off and get all the leaves out of the way. But the tree wanted the leaves left there. But I did save the tree. The tree is fine now.
Yay, that's wonderful. Okay, so you took the full page of those glyphs and just wrapped it around the tree. Wonderful. So, there's hailstorms that come here in Colorado, and they caused a whole bunch of trees to get blight, fire blight. So, okay, good to know how to work with these, with our beloved trees. Great. Now, I want to say, I'm going to go to some more questions. A couple questions on using these for family members. And so there's two questions I'm putting together here. Katerina says she wants to work on her family members. Does she write each name on a separate piece of paper and place the glyph on top of each name? And can I stack the top of each other, or can I write their names on one sheet of paper with one glyph on top?
Okay, there is a glyph called reaching out. And what I do is I take like a pad of these little sticky pads, and I take the page of 16 and I write that person's name on the very small piece of sticky pad, and I put that person's name on. And when I do that, now this particular glyph, reaching out, is timed for 6 weeks. And every day it will remove a layer of fear, then the next day it will remove a layer of anger, and it will keep on and on all these different emotions. And it's very subtle. If after 6 weeks you feel there's more help needed, and there often is, and I just kept on, you just keep on doing it again. I did this for my sons who didn't really have any problems, but I felt like they would never get it spiritually. And not that it was any of my business, but I just kept using it. And all of a sudden, the youngest was reading Conversations with God, and the other one signed up for meditation at a Buddhist chapel.
Okay, that's beautiful. That Conversations with God was actually one of my first.
Right, one of the first early ones we had, but it's never too late for that. But
it's great.
And so you can just put another name on there, and you have 16 of them, and I've just got it on top of a bookcase, and I just write down another name. Now, if you're doing a surrogate for some particular thing, then you want to tell that glyph how long is it supposed to work. It needs to know that, because otherwise is it a day, is it a week? And so when I would do it for the dog, I would say 30 days. And just for a general idea. So often it was healed much quicker than that, but I would give it a time anyway.
You know, this brings up a good point, and we've got more questions I'm going to speed through here in a second. But when we're talking about water and charging water, we could even put these in our water facing inwards from the outside of the jar, obviously. But that could charge the water. Have you had people working with that modality?
Oh, what I found out just within the last year, that you can make the glyphs into homeopathics. I would put the glyphs you can put them on the outside of a little dropper bottle with some of that clear packing tape. And here I have it facing out, so you remember what you're doing, what's there. And I would just, and then I would succuss it each time. That means you tap it on your hand a half a dozen times real firmly to activate the energy. And then I did that for allergy. I used to have hay fever. And so I was always using the glyph for allergy. And that can get tedious for the same glyph all the time. And so I tried this. I made a homeopathic with the allergy glyph on. And it has worked amazingly well, because I would have to have an air purifier running and everything. And now my allergies are really just not a problem. If I have a couple sneezes, I go ahead and grab that homeopathic for the allergy glyph.
Okay, again, that is amazing. That's beautiful. And I'm thinking that would be a good thing, maybe even with our animals, or going in and working with family members and maybe just spraying the vibes in the room. Right, that might be good as well. All right, so this brings up a question from Love and Light on YouTube. Do these glyphs work on someone who is unaware that you are using them? My 82-year-old aunt is in the hospital, and I would love to help her by using it. You spoke a little bit on this, Jean, but rephrase this again for us.
Right, okay. First of all, you want to ask permission from the soul, and you just do that with a thought. You say, if the soul grants permission, because we don't know if somebody is getting ready to pass or whatever. Their soul is in charge. But you just say, with permission of the soul, and then you put the glyph. You can use a piece of paper, put a stick drawing on a piece of paper. I just like the stuffed animals because they give me more a feel, where sometimes you're putting a glyph on 3, 4, 5 different places on the body, and so this gives you a place where to put it. And you don't have to ask permission. If you have, like the one man who had Alzheimer's, he loved it, and he wanted them to use the glyphs. And a lot of old people are very resistant because they've been raised in a Christian fear of the devil type mentality, and so they may not be interested in using it personally. So yes, you can use it without their knowing it.
Okay. Speak to the soul. Ask the soul. Okay. All right, let's move on. Angela. Hi, Angela. She says, I have a tooth that requires a crown as it's cracked and wonder if there might be a glyph that I could avoid this process. And she also asked earlier, is there a glyph for grinding teeth?
Well, you're grinding teeth because this is an emotional issue. This is emotional issues, so you need to use those emotional issue ones. For the cracked teeth, I found with using the glyphs, nerves heal very quickly, the emotions heal quickly, tissue takes longer, but bones and teeth take the longest. There are two different glyphs in the books. One's for abscess tooth. That will heal the infection quite quickly. It's also programmed to heal the root. But a cracked tooth, that would take a long time. There's one that will heal, it's programmed to heal a chipped or the enamel and various different issues, but it would take a long time. If it's causing you pain, I'm not sure that's going to work fast enough if it's cracked where it's causing pain. But it could. Anything's possible, though. Anything's possible. I don't want to discourage anybody from trying anything, because if you believe in anything, we have the power to change one substance into another if we just believe in ourselves. So if it's possible that you could use it and you believe in it strong enough, or what you're doing, anything is possible. So I don't want to discourage anybody from trying, but I have found from experience that teeth and bones take a little longer. Maybe I don't believe enough. That's why I need to practice what I preach.
And that makes sense, too, with the teeth and bones, right? So that's good to know.
We're in the third dimension here.
We're in the third dimension here, people.
We'd like to. We're ready to move on, and we're the ones in charge of that.
Yes. Okay. All right. So then, what about the macular degeneration for the eyes? Are there glyphs for that?
Yes, there's a glyph for clear vision, something I think it's called, and it healed my ex-husband of cataracts and glaucoma.
Oh, wow.
It is programmed to heal macular degeneration as well. But after 10 years, I just got an email from him about 6 months ago saying that his pressure was still normal after all that time without any medication. I have not heard from anyone with macular degeneration, but it is programmed into the glyph, so it definitely should work. When I first used that glyph, and I just laid down and I put a piece of cloth holding them over my eyes, and I felt like something was pulling something out of my eyes. I cannot tell you exactly any more than that, but to this day, I do not need reading glasses.
Wow, so, that's great.
Again, that's a good prevention. That's a good one to use for prevention.
How do you put the glyphs on for the eyes?
Well,
do you put them over your eyes?
Well, it depends. I just put them on the eyes at first. When we first started, he didn't have glaucoma. But then I was guided to put them on the back of the neck. If you take your fingers and put them on where the neck connects to the skull, there's two kind of indentations. You put one on each side. And then I was told to put one under each arm for him. And we did that. And then I was told to put it on the top of the arm. We didn't do that part, but it worked anyway. But when I put the glyphs on the back of my neck, although I had no issue with my eyes, I could feel stuff moving up and down the sides of the spine there. Because it's energy.
It's
eye
energy.
Problems like glaucoma is not the eye, it's energy, the failure of energy to be moving there. And again, that's emotional. There's that old saying, what is it you don't want to see?
Yes. Okay. All right. So then, again, always working with those emotional glyphs, whether we feel good or not or whatever, I could think that there would be a nice little packet of just wearing those around on the bottom of the feet or in the bra or, somewhere on the body. Okay. All right. Here's a question from AS. I have a health problem common to many, many elderly women, urinary incontinence. Is there a glyph for this?
There's one for the bladder and urinary tract, and I certainly would use that. But there's one to help muscles, to strengthen the muscles and to prevent a problem with atrophy of the muscles. And this is a breakdown of a muscular area. And there are also exercises for that. It's called the Kegel exercises, where when you're urinating, you try to stop it right in the middle. And you just do that a few times, and you try to remember doing that, because exercise will help any muscle that's losing its elasticity. Okay. So I would use the glyphs on the muscles. And the glyphs work with any other practice, whether it's another modality or whatever it is. But I would use those two glyphs.
Okay, next question. Is there a glyph for seborrhea or itch in my intimate parts on both ends? I've tried everything. It's been there for 10 years. No doctor has been able to help.
I've looked up seborrhea, and I've had two different answers. One, it's viral. The other is that it's a fungus. So there are two glyphs there. There's one for bacterial and viral. That's the same glyph. And then there's one for the candida. Candida will work with a fungus. And so you would have to use this. You can use this directly, and with something like that, anytime you're dealing with something in the root chakra area, the urinary tract, or the anal, I used a piece of plastic wrap or a piece of cloth. You've got to protect it somehow from dampness, from moisture. And I would try those two glyphs, and I would go ahead and do the exercises.
Okay, very good. Linda, she says, thank you, I have your books and I love the glyphs. And she would like to know if the glyphs work on the chemical imbalances in the body as well as the electrical system of the body.
Yes, there are glyphs programmed to do that. I couldn't tell you. Matter of fact, there's probably more than one glyph, like the one for the female disorders. That one will also address chemical imbalances and electrical imbalances. Yes, and there's one in the third book for energy imbalances. Yes.
Excellent. And weight loss. That's always a popular question. Can these work for weight loss?
Weight loss, and this is the same answer as for addictions. This again is the emotional healing. When people are eating, they're trying to satisfy a need for love. They want solace, and when you eat, it gives you some kind of satisfaction. It gives you a momentary time of happiness until the food is digested and it's gone again. So you need to use those emotional healing glyphs, and the goal is to love yourself. And as you continue to use them, it becomes easier and easier and become more, and just have to remind yourself, as you love yourself, you treat yourself well. As you love yourself, you take care of your body. Because sometimes people who are overeating, it's almost like a death wish. If they get so obese, they don't care. They don't love themselves enough to take care of themselves. So as you remove all these other issues, it will help you in controlling that. You will want to take care of your body.
Okay, beautiful. Again, the power of healing those emotional wounds. Beautiful. All right, and again, here's a comment from someone. I don't have a name, but this person says, I wanted to mention how well the emotional glyphs work. I didn't feel I needed them before, but found out some information about my family, and it's so upsetting. So I've been using the anger, sadness, and ancestral glyphs, and I'm feeling much better. The ancestral glyphs, that's interesting. What's going on there with that one?
Well, you hear a lot of people say, they use this almost like an excuse. They say, oh, well, I have this problem, but it's hereditary. My father had it, and my grandfather had it. And think about it a minute. If your grandfather had it, and your great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather, you may have been your great-great-grandfather. So then who are you going to blame? And oftentimes people who have been regressed find they have had the same problem lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And Lois Grant, who wrote a great book she had rheumatoid arthritis, and she found after she was regressed that she had rheumatoid arthritis for every lifetime in the last 400 years. And so she felt like enough is enough. I need to heal this. And she did. She did. So, we can't, so we use this glyph to break that hereditary link. And that works with dogs too, because sometimes dogs will have hereditary issues. And so I would use, anytime you have a dog who's got, you have a problem that goes with their breed or something, I would use that glyph as well. And again, back to the dogs, always use those emotional healing glyphs on the dogs and the animals too, because they have a lot of issues, especially rescue animals. And people say they don't want a rescue dog because it's too much trouble, too many problems. Well, they can be healed. They can be helped. Use those on your dogs or your cats.
Yes, okay. Jean, what about a retinal occlusion where the eye produces floaters?
The glyph is programmed to heal all eye issues. I've had floaters. I don't have them right now. I did have floaters, but I don't now. I didn't even think about it until now.
You're proof positive. Wow. Okay. Wonderful. And again, another question coming in, can we use several at the same time? And yes. And how would they do that?
Well, now when people first start, I would just use a couple of them at a time because you're moving energy. And if you use too many, you could, like one man, he put 5 of them on the back of his heart right away. And he said when he got up in the morning, he almost fell over. So you want to be careful at first until you get used to them. But when I was going through my divorce, I took and I put the fear glyph, the sadness glyph, the anger glyph, the resentment. I put them all on top of each other. And I think there were 4 or 5. And they did help, but then, of course, I'd been using them for a while. But we want to be careful. The emotional glyphs, it could make you, all of them, they could make you a little woozy because you're moving energy. I wouldn't do this before you're going to drive somewhere or you're going to work the next day if you're determined to put a whole bunch on. But they're never cause, they really would cause any discomfort. But one woman wrote she tried 5 of them right away on her solar plexus for healing. She had a serious emphysema. And after 15 minutes, it became quite painful, and she had to remove the glyphs and realized she need to just do it 1 or 2 at a time. So don't get carried away. Oftentimes people, they get the glyphs and they start piling them all on. Just take your time at first.
Good, and that's also good so that you, the person who's working with the glyph, can actually see the result from, like, say, the lungs, for example. Just use the one for the lungs, right? And so then you're more able to be that witness of what's going on there. Great. Okay. So here's a question. Lisa says, my left hip internally rotated and spine got off track a bit from that. Is there a glyph that can help with that?
There's a glyph for the vertebrae. If you're talking about that affected the vertebrae, and that really works quite well.
Okay, it's like your own little chiropractor inside a glyph.
Right, and for the hip, there is one. There's one for the vertebrae, and then there's one for 2 glyphs for the joints. I would use them both.
Okay.
And again, keep using the emotional healing ones.
The emotional healing ones, those are always a staple. Okay, Tina has a question. My boyfriend had a stroke, has problems with his swallow and speech. What glyph would be good for this?
There's one healing the damaged brain. That would certainly be good. There is one swallowing. There's one for the esophagus, but that's not really the esophagus. Swallow and the speech, did she say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that glyph for the brain should work, and I would use a neurological healing one as well.
Great. And
again, how did he attract this in his life? How did he attract this to him? He's got an issue there too.
So those emotional issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about muscular dystrophy?
There is a glyph to heal the muscles, I would use a glyph for the muscles and all of the neurological, and I would definitely use the one for the brain. There's various ones for the nerves, healing damaged nerve bundles.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things like muscular dystrophy that you would probably use 4 or 5 different glyphs. Like I said, for the brain and definitely for the muscles and for the neurological system.
Okay, and again, these glyphs are in 3 of Jean's books. And book 1, again, is mostly the emotional healing. There's a lot of glyphs in each of those books, and they're all fantastic for people to print out and use. And if you're interested in a personal session with Jean, this is beautiful because she is available for a consult as well. So let's take a quick moment and learn more about that special offer that you've got, each of those 3 books, and how, when people come to you for a consult, they can even get the instructions on how to work with other people with these glyphs.
Mm-hmm. Right. They often do. People will buy these books sometimes faster for their pets than they do themselves. But for the 3 books, I get the 3 books and the videos, all the 3 videos, and that will be very helpful. And there's a special moo glyph. That one was given to me. I was told at some point that there would be a powerful viral crisis, that there was something that there was coming out, and I needed to make a special glyph. And so I did. I was told later that probably wouldn't happen. They never know what's. Even God doesn't know what's going to happen sometimes. So I was told what to use for the glyph, and I encouraged them. This is a glyph that can be used for serious viral illnesses like AIDS or Lyme, some illness that mutates in the body. And so it can be, and when I say put on a T-shirt, I'm not talking about the kind of the little things that you buy at the office supply store. I'm talking about taking it to a T-shirt place and having it put over the solar plexus in the back of the heart. And all the instructions come with that, because to rid yourself of a mutating virus, you're going to have to wear it consistently for a while. As soon as you get out of the shower, you put on another T-shirt with it on. And so that glyph will be included as well. And that's $97.
Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. Well, that download is there, and you can print off these glyphs forever and ever, however long you need them. Just get really organized when you download these ebooks and create that binder like Jean says, and you'll just have a nice little first aid kit. Have fun playing with these glyphs and actually healing from these glyphs and feeling better. Well, here is a question from Carrie, and Carrie says, I've been dealing with self-sabotage due to unworthiness and underservingness beliefs. What would you suggest using, and where do I place them on the body?
Yeah, that the unworthy one is, I added often, as I wrote it up, there may be 2 paragraphs of feeling of being unworthy is part of the fear glyph. And I suggest putting them on the solar plexus to start, but some people have gone just right off and cut the page in half and put 8 under each feet of 2 strips or a strip of with 8 of them. That can be a bit intense, but yes, the fear glyph is definitely the one to use for that. And also the one for courage, confidence, and joy.
Courage, confidence, and joy. Great. Mm-hmm. All right, so Det has a question. Do you have a glyph for reluctance?
Well, there's fear again.
Oh, yeah, so overcoming. What glyphs do we use to overcome reluctance?
Yeah, there we go. Why are we reluctant? Because we're afraid. We fear. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And we lack of trust. I would say the trust one. And all 3 of those, courage, confidence, and joy. All 3 of them, yes.
Okay. And here's a question. These are glyphs that are energized from how you received them. And so a question is, can we draw them directly on our bodies? Does it work that way?
No, I would not. And people say, can I trace them? No, the energy is in the exact image, and that's fine when you stick it in a copier, then it comes out the exact image. But no matter how carefully you try to trace something or draw something, unless you can empower it yourself with your mind, that's the only way. And Lauren and I have discussed this, the possibility of tattoos, temporary tattoos.
Yeah.
But trying to find one that has non-toxic ink, I'm not sure, but I think only henna is the thing that would work with that. And I need to ask someday if that would work fine, as henna might be the one. And we're still working with that idea.
Yeah.
I haven't given up, because it would be nice to have a tattoo you could put on.
Yes. That you can wear in the shower, and you're wearing it 24 hours, and you don't have to worry about it getting sweaty and being discolored. So when they do get sweaty and discolored, that's when you should just throw those out and replace them with a fresh
Tear them in half.
glyph.
Tear them in half and throw them away. People say, can I use them again? And if they're in good condition and undamaged, I use like a little a fishing tackle box. And I put some that are still in good condition in there. But once they're damaged, they will not work. So if they sustain any damage, and if you're using them on a homeopathic, if you put them on a bottle and moisture gets behind that, then put on a new glyph, because that will not work anymore if it gets damaged by moisture.
All right, we'll have fun with those. And putting them on all sorts of things, charging water, using them on your own physical body for your health, using them for people you care about, loved ones, and of course our beloved pets. Here is a question from Elizabeth, who asks, my cat has been diagnosed with jawbone cancer. It's very aggressive, already bone loss, tooth came out, not good prognosis, it's not promising. Elizabeth has all 3 books. What glyphs do you recommend? She is hopeful.
There is a glyph for malignancy, and I would certainly use that. With cats, you almost always have to use that on a surrogate, because putting them on the cat is difficult. But I would use a malignancy one, and I would use the one for joints and for the abscess as well, if there's any infection in there. And that would be my best idea there. The malignancy one is really good. It can heal tumors or malignancies, both and also benign tumors as well. But that's what I recommend.
Thank you. Okay, Linda. Linda would like to know, you did mention you cleared allergies from yourself, but she says, is there a glyph for allergies? My 10-year-old son has many allergies, mostly environmental.
I'm going to say something that some people are not going to agree with, but I would use there's a glyph to remove vaccinations. All vaccinations depress the immune system.
Okay.
Yes, and there was one man that I was working with, his mother. He's paralyzed from the neck down because of Epstein-Barr virus. And when I did a spiritual investigation on it, I was told that, and this was the answer I got, and I'm quoting it, this was created by your own government, and it is given in vaccinations. And so that just shows what we're dealing with. And so I encourage people to remove their vaccinations. And when I used mine, and I didn't have the mess of the vaccinations they're getting now, but I could feel it doing something inside of me. And many of my allergies are gone. For years I've not been able to eat eggs or nuts, and it's much better now. It's much, much better. I can now eat eggs, and nuts are not near the problem they were before. So I would strongly suggest that glyph is really important.
Yes, okay. The glyph for removing vaccinations. So the
Right, I would start with
vaccination,
that.
and that would
What
be
was the
like
rest of
the,
the...
well, that would be they were mostly environmental allergies, she said. But
Right, well,
so the
I would start
vaccination,
with... Right,
well,
right.
it's still, you're still protected with the reason why they would want to vaccinate you, but this is the heavy metal toxins or the ingredients that are
Right.
detrimental that
Yes.
are
Right.
being released.
Mercury and aluminum
Okay.
in those, um, and even the vitamin K shot for babies. I asked about that, and I was told babies do not need that vitamin K shot, and do not let them give that vitamin K shot to your baby.
Okay. All right. Kidney. Kate has a sore left kidney, and release stones and a small amount of blood for many weeks. What would you do for Kate with her kidney?
There is a glyph for the kidneys, and I would
Okay.
that's a glyph I would use. There's also one for the urinary tract, but I would definitely use the one for the kidneys, and that should be dissolve kidney stones. There's also there's two ones for detoxification, and the second one will help also dissolve kidney or gallstones. So I would start with the kidney one and use the one for detoxification too on the kidney.
All right. And Melissa, she just broke her ankle 3 days ago. Sorry about that. She says can't have pain meds due to allergies. So what glyph could help with the pain and inflammation? She says my muscles are fatigued and painful trying to stand on the leg.
There's one for bones in the second book, and that there's one for bones, and there's also for cellular repair. I would use both of those and see how that works.
Okay.
Right, cellular repair. That cellular repair I found is quite amazing. I had one incident where I had made a big kettle of popcorn, and it was a heavy kettle. It was actually the bottom of a pressure cooker, and I was wearing shorts. And without thinking, I sat down on a chair out on the deck and put that kettle right on my legs. And oh my gosh, that burned. And so I put on some aloe vera and I put that cellular repair. It did not hurt after that. And the next morning there was like a brown scab there. And it would have been a blister. If I had not done anything, it would have blistered. But I did not feel pain from that burn. So whether that will stop the pain for the leg, I think it's a good thing to try.
Absolutely, great things to try. Again, these are healing glyphs, and they really put the power of your own healing into your hands.
Right.
And it really does help save on those doctor bills. Oh my goodness, great. All right, Jean, is there any other amazing story that you'd like to share about how this has really helped someone? Has it worked with those cancerous, you've seen it remove cancerous tumors or diagnosis be reversed?
Right, the one that I was talking about earlier, the woman's sister had a tumor on her foot, a growth of some type. And she used it without telling her sister. She used it on a surrogate for her sister. And after 2 weeks, her sister went to the doctor, and it had reduced about half in size. And another 2 weeks, she went back, and it was gone. So that took a month. And to me, and she didn't. Then she told her sister what she did after that.
Okay.
But I'm grateful that he didn't want to do surgery on her. She's lucky there because she saved herself from a painful surgery.
Yes.
So that was one. And then there was one of my neighbors had a real severe neck problem with the bone in her pains in her neck, and each vertebrae has a different emotional issue with it. And so, again, we use the emotional ones, but there is the one for vertebrae. I put it on a surrogate for her, and she felt much, much better. It really made a difference for her. And I tried to explain to her about the emotional. She has all the books, but sometimes I have to step back and let people do what they're going to do if they want to go to the doctor. But she was feeling better, but sometimes people don't want to do it on themselves. They want people to do it for them. We don't get it. Sometimes we can't escape that, where we're used to going to the doctor and the doctor tells you what to do. Here you've just got to learn that you are in control. You need to take charge of your body, and you need to decide what it needs. So don't let anybody tell you what your body needs.
Yes, it's just the inner knowing that works within us, and that's why when we use our intuition with these glyphs and get experienced with it, that experience becomes our truth. And so let's talk a few more questions here before we wrap up. What about the skin? Here's two questions. There's a question on a plantar's wart, and then there's something on moles that got bigger. What glyph for that?
If you're suspicious of the mole, I would use the one for malignancy as well. There's a glyph for skin, and but I would use the one for malignancy on that just in case. The one that for the skin, what I had an experience, I had a scar on my forehead, and when I had some work done on my legs to remove the veins, and I said, "Can you do this on my forehead?" And she did, and what happened is it became a keloid. And I thought, oh my God, I should have left it alone. But I went ahead and put the skin one on a surrogate for me to remove that keloid on my forehead. And after several weeks, nothing was happening, and I thought, oh well, don't worry about it. And all of a sudden, months later, I realized it was gone. It was gone. So I would go ahead and use it. If it's in a place where you don't want that, you use it on a surrogate for yourself. If it's in a place where it's not going to bother you, then you could put it on yourself. But something like that is going to take a little time. So if you want to put it on the skin. But then if you want to switch to a surrogate, the one for the skin. But I would use the one for malignancy, just to be on the safe side. Okay.
Very helpful. And then you had mentioned as well earlier that we command and tell that glyph how long to work. And so if it's on a surrogate, we say it's going to work for 30 days or 2 weeks. But if we use it on ourselves, we still command how long we use it. And then do we use that on our body, for example, for that entire time?
I had a real serious heart problem. And I used it for behind my bra for a while, but then I just put it on a surrogate for myself. I was told to use it for 4 months. I had mitral valve prolapse, and I was told to use it for 4 months, so I did. I just put it on a surrogate, but that's a handy thing to just be able to put it somewhere else and tell it what to do. The glyphs have consciousness. They have consciousness, and you can also decide. You can tell them what if there's something specific where you want what you want help with. Talk to it. I know this sounds crazy, but talk to it. I talk to everything. I talk to my car. I talk to my appliances. They all have consciousness, and sometimes we don't understand exactly what they mean. That means.
Right. Beautiful. Okay. All right. And let's see. Linda says thank you, by the way. She said that her son was, in fact, given half his vaccinations until she stopped vaccinating, and then her second son received no vaccines, and he has 0 allergies. She's going to use that glyph. Yeah, wonderful. I love it. I really love it. Beautiful. All right, that special offer for Dr. Jean Logan's package is available at acoustichealth.com/special offers/sacred-healing. Check that out. We have that page up on our YouTube screen at the moment. All right, last question. This is a fungal toenail. Is there a glyph for toe fungus?
And one for candida should be helpful for that, but and also for fungus on a toenail, oil of oregano, and I understand tea tree oil can be helpful for that. But when you have something like that, your body is too acidic, and you need to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, and eat a more a candida type diet where it's fresh fruits and vegetables, which we should anyway, and avoid heavy meats, sugar, and starchy things like bread, wheat, and so forth. I would stay away from that and change your diet a little bit. But oil of oregano can be very helpful. I've heard apple cider vinegar can be helpful too.
Just putting that right there on the toenail or drinking it?
Right. Well, at least 3 times a day. At least 3 times a day. Right.
On the direct application onto the area?
Right.
Okay. All right. Wow, this is really very helpful for everyone, and I just love these glyphs. Again, they are sacred. The way that you developed them, the way that you empowered them in the chapel, right? They've all been blessed, and they are energized, and they are hosted by the angelic realm. So they are divine. It really is scalar energy, and when you were talking about the consciousness that they are, we can direct that and we can work with it. And I just thank you so much for bringing these forth. What you do as well, your proceeds from this book goes to helping others. And this helps kids in Nepal and other places around the world. That's wonderful, Jean.
Thank you. Yeah, so, I do. I feel so. Maybe it's an ego thing, but it just gives me great joy. And when I can even talk to them in Nepal on Facebook, it's just really, and they're so happy, grateful for it.
Well, we are so grateful and happy for the work that you do. And over the years that I've known you and worked with you, there are so many people that come in and say, wow, this is the real deal. Jean is the real deal. And so I hope you get this information out there, even on a larger scale. I think I see that you want to be on George Nuri, so let's put the call out there for George Nuri to find you, discover you, to interview you. That would be so wonderful, Jean. Good luck with all of that.
I did ask for that, but I did in a channel. I said, how come I'm not getting help there? And they said, I was told that if I was put on an audience with that big, that they could not protect me. Right now, I'm being protected. And they could not protect me if there were millions of people listening to me. And so I thought, okay, I just need to get set back and let Spirit help there. Let it just go the way Spirit wants it to go.
Yes.
And that makes sense because we all know what's happening with holistic MDs and stuff. It's kind of scary there. I'm not scared, but because I'm told, I'm reminded, know that you are protected. So
good.
Because anybody who works in my field always asks for protection, and you will be protected.
Beautiful. And I just want to put this out there to you, Jean. Maybe the Nemenha Association, that might be a way. Check that out, Nemenha, Nemenha.
Wait a minute.
You could become a Nemenha medicine woman where this information is protected under the Native American rights.
Spell that out again.
Nemen, Nemen, like N-E, men.
Yeah,
Nemen,
right.
Ha, H-A. It's all one word. Nemenha.
Okay.
This is great for all healers who want to bring forth their information or their modality, but they want it protected a little bit from, right, the larger beings that want this kept away from our public.
Yes, right.
Good. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jean. It's always wonderful to catch up with you and hear of the beautiful stories. And I want to really advise our listeners to play and work with these glyphs. Again, I've used them in my life as well. Jean has absolutely used them in her life. And what you've heard today is testimony to the power of this divine light that is coming through these glyphs. Thank you so much for this quantum conversation, Dr. Jean Logan.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and I send my love and blessings out to everyone.
Thank you. Love and blessings to you. Namaste. Now it is time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. You can move your body and just empower your dreams with this motion and this fun. We do it from our collective experience, being in joy and harmony. Blessings. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe, music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.
The conference is now completed. Goodbye.